Hi, I'm Denise Ortiz of MindBodyHealing.biz. Thanks so much for joining us today. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about the state of the world. We all know that something is going on. Something is different. It feels chaotic. Sometimes it just feels weird and strange. Other times it feels almost euphoric and wonderful, and then it can change on a dime. So I'm trying to get some answers from a lot of my wonderful friends to try to explain some of the things that are causing this, or some of the things that are actually going on in the earth and what we're feeling and sensing and seeing around us. Now, one of the things we're going to talk to Chris about today is going from the third to the fifth dimension. Now, many of you have heard about going to the fifth dimension. What does that mean? What is it all about? Well, she's going to explain how it works, what it's about, and how it's affecting you. And there's also a podcast that she's been doing with my other friend, Rebecca Roseberry. And Chris and Rebecca have been doing a podcast on her Pure Nutrition site on YouTube. And it's called The User's Guide to the Fifth Dimension. And I'll have that information at the end of the video where you could go a deeper dive to exactly what's going on. But first, let me tell you a little bit about my friend Chris Gordon. Now, Chris is she's the founder of Celestial Healing back in 2004. And she's been doing this a lot longer than that. She's just wonderful. Since the day she was born, she was gifted. She's a shamanic grandmother, a medium, a Reiki master, a healer, a teacher, metaphysical therapist, healing touch animal Reiki. She also has the gift of just seeing, hearing, and reading energy. Now, her website is celestialhealingwithchris.com, which again will be at the end so you can know how to get in touch with her. And she's had these gifts since childhood. She also does a lot of work with the people in the area, blending energy, medicine, and therapy with love, compassion, and gratitude. So, now to explain what the third to fifth dimension is all about, or at least as much as you need to know for now, I bring on my friend Chris. Chris.
Hi, Denise. Thank you so much. I didn't realize I did all that. Thank you. That was a beautiful, thank you. That was very, very, very humbling. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. This is, I believe this is like the best time in the world to be alive. And every time I make that statement, I get looks like I have 12 Medusa heads or something from people, because at the same time, I understand how fearful and terrifying it can be at times for people. So when we talk about ages, we talk about, everybody's heard of the age of Aquarius, and yes, it was a song, and it was. I find it very interesting. The fifth dimension sang about the age of Aquarius, and none of those things came from being a coincidence. It was all sort of tongue in cheek, knowing that this time was going to come. So when we speak of an age it simply is the alignment of planets with stars, moons, etc., with each other, for a span of time. So usually several thousand years. Some are a little longer than others, some are a little shorter, but for several thousand years, 2, 3, sometimes a little over 3, these planets are fixed where they are. And we as humans on Earth can notice this without any equipment, without having any kind of astronomy background, simply by stepping outside at night and looking and seeing that Orion's belt, instead of being, this way, is now this way, or where Mars used to be, Mars isn't there anymore. There's something else there now. When we didn't used to be able to see a Saturn, we can see a Saturn very clearly when we go outside now. So we see this. It's not anything out of a sci-fi magazine or comic book or movie or anything. These are literally, it's astronomy. It's not astrology. It's astronomy. And it is the realignment of the planets in the universe. our solar system, but also in the entire universe. And so that was an age, it's the age of Pisces. We are now, that age is over. Planets have already started shifting and changing. They did so circa 2012. Just the other night, we had five or six planets line up. I can't remember the exact number, but they lined up in a row again. This has been happening more and more. We see that the moon is coming up in a different place than where it usually rises. So we have all kinds of things to validate that we're going into the age of Aquarius. The age we were in was a very three-dimensional, very dense, low frequency energy, low energy alignment. And now we're going into a higher, a softer, a gentler energy. It's a higher frequency than the third dimension. So the fourth dimension that we are in kind of right now is the place where three-dimensional energy and fourth and fifth dimensional energy can live in the same space. We call it pivot, and it's kind of that space that we're in. And because we're in this space and we have both energies going, things are a little more chaotic than normal, or they appear to be that way. They're not actually that way, but they appear to be that way. And as we release our third dimension self, as the earth goes completely into her fifth dimensional self, and we release our 3D energies and move toward these higher frequencies, it's a little unsettling at first because it feels a little different. Everything that we're doing is different. All of this anger and fear is coming up because it will be going away, and it can't leave if it doesn't come to the surface.
Right. And that's change. And we know how much everybody just loves change.
We love change. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And so I understand it can be a little scary. I understand that when people say, "Oh my gosh, the world's crazy." What I can say, and the wonderful thing about all of this, I guess, let me back up a minute. The wonderful thing about all of this is that quantum sciences and math, sacred geometry, there's several different scientific and mathematical things out there that can measure these things. And we have cameras now that can see energy for what it is, and we have all kinds of science and mathematics out there that validate for us that these things are going on.
Yeah, exactly. Like I saw recently too that, it was Einstein who said that we're more than the 3D that we see. And that played into a lot of other information, which led lots of scientists. Now, this is science. This is not woo-woo. People realize this is science. And they said there may even be up to 10 different levels of dimension that are existing. And that's where a lot of the string theory had come from, and bringing us into some of the quantum work. And we're only going from the third to fifth dimension, and it's still causing this disruption to us because it's change, right?
That word again, it's change. And the only time we like change is when they give it to us, when they give them money and they give us something back. And that's the only change in this world that we ever want to see. So during COVID, I did not want to stay home and eat bonbons, and I was one of the ones that couldn't work and didn't want to stay home and eat bonbons and watch soap operas. So I decided to go back to school online, and I really thought I was taking an energy, like a Zen type energy class when I signed up for it. Sat through it and realized it was quantum, and went, "Oh, you'll probably not be taking this," until I said, "But I'm going to sit. I'm going to listen to the whole class, and then I'll do whatever I have to do. And found out that everything this professor was talking about was exactly what I see. I was born seeing colors. I didn't realize that everybody didn't see colors until I was a teenager. I can see auras. I see energy. I can tell when people are lying to themselves, not me, to themselves. Um, so it does help in what I do, when I'm working with individuals. But it also opened up this whole world of being able, hopefully, to answer questions for people and to help open doors of opportunity for people who are still in that lower frequency of fear, to be able to see that there is something totally different out here that we are walking into, and they can walk into it without having to be afraid. They don't have to fear all the things that are going on in the world. And it doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are or are not. The universe itself and Gaia, our Mother Earth, the energies will shift all of this around, and we really don't have to do a whole lot in the process.
Right. So people don't have to worry about how do I learn how to get there? Where is this taught? What books I can read? I mean, there's books that talk about what the experience may
Right.
be, but it's just happening to us and around us, right?
Exactly. And but we also know that the more we know about something, the less we fear it. And that's what I hope, that I'm getting to do, that I'm doing successfully, I hope, is answering questions for people that are afraid. I have a lot of the same questions over and over from my clients, and they're usually repetitive. They'll ask me, they may go a couple of weeks, and then I get a phone call again. Okay, so and so, and the same things tend to seem to come up. What's happening when that happens is we are trying to release our attachment to that thing, person, place, or thing. It can be either. And as I'm trying to release my lifelong attachment, my ancestor lifelong attachment to whatever this person, place, or thing. It can be a job, it can be a relationship, it can be politics, it can be religion. You can fill in the blank with any person, place, or thing. And as we detach ourselves from that, it can feel like we're on shaky ground for a little bit. And so it doesn't feel any better than when we were in it sometimes. So the more we understand and the more we can talk openly about the science of what's happening around us and why we feel the way we feel. And there's also psychology that goes along with this, because we have things in our brain and in the non-conscious part of our brain, subconscious, that have been hidden away for a very long time. And those things are also coming to the surface because they're no longer true.
Yes, because we feel the emotions of it. They're also parts of that energy of any traumas or any misinformation that also seem to hide in parts of the body, which is why you'll be having the ache in the back or the ache in the hip.
Exactly.
And I mean, I've dealt with that with some of the people I do hypnosis with want to make major changes. And there's sometimes physical changes that happen as well, because we have to remember we are energy beings, which means frequencies, high or low, affect us, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And when we have things out in the cosmos, out in our solar system, that are happening as rapidly as they are happening, that affects us even more. A great analogy of that is if you think about a full moon, and you think about how the full moon raises and changes water levels. And then you think of our bodies being 80% liquid. So if it's doing that to massive amounts of water, imagine what type of effect that's having on us. Then if you have all of the other energies that as the planets and moons and stars are moving around, as they're moving and they're changing, well, if the moon has an effect, so does everything else. And so we are being affected by all the things that are going around in the heavens, and we don't understand it because there's no control. There's not a playbook. The earth, she's and her friends, they're just doing what they do naturally. This is nothing new. Nothing that we are going through is new. Every time there is a new alignment of planets, humans and everyone else go through these changes, and so we all do it together. So as we read about these volcanoes or earthquakes or tsunamis or anything else that are happening, I find it comforting to go, oh, well, guess what, I couldn't get out of my chair today because my energy's off and my hip was not wanting to cooperate. But you know what, Gaia's getting rid of her aches and pains too. So knowing
Yeah.
that we're in unison in this ebb and flow. And the thing about the energy we're going into is it is a very fluid energy. Not only is it lighter, but it's more fluid. So there really will, once we find our niche in that space, there will be a need for less prisons. It won't be that people will be forced to not do things, man's inhumanity to man, so to speak. They simply won't come into our thought processes because the energies are higher than the density energy that we're living in now.
Yep. And that's the energy of love. And people sometimes mistake when not just the being in love with your partner, but a true love that comes from a heart coherence, a mind heart coherence, where the energy of love is just there. And anyone who's ever had to hold a child that got hurt, or somebody that is comforting a friend knows that that energy of love, if that exists around you, it's kind of hard for that denser, like you said, more not so nice energy that we've had on this planet for a while can no longer exist when there's a state of love energy surrounding it.
Exactly. And again, that's very comforting for me personally. Yes, I do have my guides, and I have the masters that talk to me all the time, and that I understand that kind of gives me a little bit of a oh, okay, I don't have to worry about this today, thank you. Where other people may not have that, but that doesn't always mean that my life is calmer than anyone else's, or that it's less fearful than anyone else's. Other than the fact that I've been doing this for so long, I do see, I see validation of all of these things as we're going from third into fourth so that we can go into fifth. I see things changing. I see where if this happens over here, it's because it needed to, for this better thing to happen over here. And again, you can fill in those blanks with person, place, or thing, because all of those are in the equation of this shift. And shift is simply what we call it. If that word doesn't resonate with somebody, they can please find another term for it. But it is shifting in from one energy source into another energy source.
Right, like a transitioning of consciousness, evolving into a higher consciousness, which we have to evolve.
Yes. And the one thing I too is that this is not new. We are remembering one of the terms that that really really is kind of like a warm fuzzy for me is we are waking up, but when we wake up from this lower frequency, we are actually remembering what it was like when thousands of years ago we were in this fourth, fifth, sixth, even seventh dimension. We were in those multiple dimensions. We were in a higher place. There's a lot of research being done all over the globe, that where they are finding even more new civilizations. It's not only Atlantis anymore, or even going back as far as Pompeii, or they're finding new civilizations that are, there are things that they're finding that that absolutely validate everything that we are going through, that we are going back to that place. And there's lots of theories as to why we went into a third dimension place. The one, I guess the one that probably resonates the best with me is that we wanted to be in control, because that's what three-dimensional energy, that's one of its characteristics, is needing to be in control, whether that's being in control of my life, whether that's being in control or trying to control other people, or whatever. It is still about control. And we, for whatever reason, humans wanted to be there. And in those fourth and fifth dimensions, the need for control, the need to be better than somebody, all of those things do not exist in that energy. And so we went to that energy so that we could experience that for a little bit. And now it's time for, the planets are realigning again, and it's time for us to wake up and remember where we were.
Yeah.
And so wonderful. I love working with children, and the younger the better, because as they're being born, especially now, they don't have all the memories, even if it's ancestral memories. They do not have the, somebody said the other day, they don't have the baggage we have, and that's kind of accurate. So they see things totally different and understand things totally different than we do. And they are absolutely wonderful. We can really learn a lot from listening to them. And they're not lazy. I've heard people say, oh my gosh, they just want to do this all the time. Well, they're not lazy. They're simply waiting. They know that we are trying to wake up and catch up and do all this. And so they're waiting.
And they're just doing things differently. They're preparing, they're knowing, because as the old systems fall apart, the new systems will come in. So they don't need to pay attention to the old systems. They already know what's wrong. Their souls came here to make things better. The indigo, the crystal children, right?
Yes. And so when they're doing this, they're also so focused. And one of the things I do every day, usually more than once a day, is a focus meditation, because being present in the moment right now is more important than it's ever been. Not looking at the past, not looking at the future, but simply looking at where we are right now. Not trying to overload our day-to-day life. Simply going through our day, we have enough external distractions. And one of the things that makes this easier to move into this fourth dimension is when we can release these external distractions, because this is going to happen. And they really don't need us. They want our participation. The universe wants our participation. Some of us do have roles to play. Some people are holding space, staying grounded for the rest of us. All kinds of things are happening, and we are supposed to be a part of this. But whether we choose to be or choose not to be, it is going to happen, but it will happen so much more kinder and gentler. And if we believe in kindness and we believe in gentle energy, then it is our responsibility to do what we can, to do what we find, what we know, what we're led to assist the universe in this transformation. And being focused on the present is so important, because these things only distract us from what we are supposed to really be doing.
Right. That makes sense. That makes good sense. So the best advice as we go in to this fifth dimensional world is just stay in the here and now, stay in the present, be present, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's where we'll find our greatest power.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
as long as we start really paying attention to who we are, there was something you said before too about just the wanting control. I don't know how many will remember the book, The Celestine Prophecies. And they talked about that. It was basically how you cut yourself off from source, whatever your source is, whether it's God or the earth or just your internal, but you cut yourself off from that because I want more and I'm going to I'm going to grab your energy and I'm going to take your energy and then I'm going to control you to help me. And I guess for quite a time, it feels very powerful until finally we burn ourselves out and then we're cut off and then we wither to nothing until we find what's in here and what we're truly connected with. And that's kind of what the energy in the fifth dimension will be like going forward, right?
Yes, ma'am. That's explained it perfectly.
That's so great. This is great. So, Chris, is there any closing words of wisdom that you can leave us with before we wrap this up for today?
So the masters, that's my name for them, the masters universe, is simply saying to trust, and to remember that we are, as souls, which is what we are love. All souls are love. And to simply trust. And if we trust, we will begin to awaken, and we will begin to remember what it is we're supposed to be doing and who we are.
I like that. I like that. Just trust.
Trust.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I would like to thank you so very much for being here with us today and sharing all this wonderful information.
Thank you. It was an honor and a privilege, and I appreciate you, my friend, more than you will ever know. Thank you.
Ah, thanks, Chris. And now, if anybody wants to take a deeper dive into this information, going from the third to the fourth to the fifth, all three dimensions are being discussed. When you have Chris Gordon and Rebecca Roseberry on Rebecca's YouTube channel, which is at purenutrition.com. The information will be at the end. And you can look into the series that they have and get deeper into what is going on. But just what Chris told us, trust and just stay in the present. And I wish that all of you can find some peace and tranquility during these crazy times, because if you just breathe, trust, and stay in the present, I think we'll all do a lot better. This is Denise Ortiz of mindbodyhealing.biz. I want to thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.